Hello and thanks for joining us for the KREM 2 News Weekend Review. I'm Cody Proctor. Each weekend we walk you through the headlines from this past week in the Inland Northwest. Let's get started with one of the biggest news stories of the past few days.
34-year-old Kristen Pirtle's body was found inside a closet underneath bloody clothes, blankets, and bags in one of these apartments right here behind me on Gardner Avenue. Tonight, police say they have arrested a person of interest. An apartment complex right on Gardner Avenue is in the center of an investigation after 34-year-old Kristen Pirtle's body was found inside a closet earlier this month with severe cranial fractures to the back of the head. Current tenants in the building didn't want to talk on camera but say they had to live with a smell they originally thought was a dead animal or garbage with rotting meat for almost a month. On the 8th, a cleanup service was sent to the apartment complex for an inspection with the landlord of the property. Documents show the inspector noticed a pungent smell unlike anything she has experienced before coming from a bedroom closet. When she opened it, she found a tarp in plastic bags covering unknown items. Documents go on to say she used her flashlight to get a better look behind the tarp inside, and that's when she says the closet was, quote, very wet with a discolored liquid. She says the baseboards of the closet that should have been white were now turned a burgundyish brown color and appeared to be blood. During the inspection, the tenant, now person of interest, said it was just dirty clothes under the tarp, doused in bleach because he, quote, couldn't afford to wash them. Documents show the inspector told officers she couldn't move anything in the closet due to the company's policy. The document says she called police as soon as she left the apartment. Officers say following the inspection, they learned that the person of interest left the scene on a bike and had not been back. Spokane Police Department confirmed he was arrested and booked the next day on July 9th for pre-existing Department of Corrections warrants. The DOC sent us a statement saying the suspect is currently in DOC custody for failing to appear back in 2020. Hours after the initial call to law enforcement investigators and the medical examiner showed up on scene, that's when they found Pirtle's body with bloody clothes and blankets, as well as a metal spike or stake on top of her. Multiple items like cleaning supplies, an additional metal spike or stake from on top of the bed, and electronics were all taken as evidence from the scene. Pirtle's cause and manner of death are still being determined. Police say at this time there is no active threat to the community and that an investigation is still underway. In Spokane, Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Well, today was an opportunity for loved ones of Sarah Doxey to honor her life. As they say, they finished the route that she never got to finish.
For many, a 5 a.m. run is just another morning. Today, it's a tribute to a life remembered.
First and foremost, she was so kind, but also uplifting.
1 year ago, 48-year-old Sarah Doxey never made it home from her routine morning run after she was killed in a hit-and-run incident. Friends tell me her morning runs were her time, a quiet moment to herself before a busy day of work and family responsibilities. Doxey was the chief operating officer of Chaz Health in Spokane and previously worked in leadership roles with Providence.
These miles of memories, you get, 5 miles a couple times a week, you're spending an hour just chatting. And you don't get that a lot with friends. And it was like a healthy way to do it. And no run will ever be the same.
Today, as runners passed the exact location of the incident, Sarah's family gave out flowers to runners, giving thanks to the community's support throughout this past year.
Sarah was always saying, it's a small town, and it really is. And when they come together like this to see these people honoring Sarah, doing something that they love and Sarah loved, it's just heartwarming.
Her family and friends say the grief will never disappear, but today this run marked a step forward, celebrating Sarah's life as a friend, daughter, mother, and wife.
Very kind human being. Very, very always looking out for others. I love that about her.
I'm reporting on Spokane South Hill. Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
You can see some of that haziness behind me. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. Those fires are creating that smoke that's being blown in by that wind, really impacting today's air quality. The air quality index in Spokane reached 171 this morning. That falls in the red, or unhealthy category. But by the time families were out enjoying Manitou Park, the blue sky was still visible and the smell of smoke wasn't enough to keep them inside.
It did smell a little bit, but it wasn't like an overbearing, oh, we shouldn't be outside right now type of thing.
Jalen Thomas grew up coming to Manitou Park and brought the little one out for a walk.
I just checked to see can I see the blue sky? Is this something where it's like totally taken over, or is it still like nicer? It just smells like smoke a little bit, you know?
Like many people we spoke with, she uses what she can see and smell to decide when conditions are too smoky.
I mean, if I smell smoke, I look in the sky, but it never stops me. I just go do what I want to do. So I'm just not impacted by it.
But blue sky doesn't necessarily mean clean air. The main pollutant in wildfire smoke is called PM 2.5. Those particles are too small to see, but can travel deep into your lungs. That's why health officials recommend checking the air quality index, rather than relying on only what the sky looks like or what the air smells like. Robert Curry came to Spokane from Coeur d'Alene, where he says the smoke was even more noticeable.
Not too bad out here, but I live in Coeur d'Alene, it's a lot worse out there.
To prepare for the next smoky day, health officials recommend checking Air Now or Spokane Clean Air before making outdoor plans. When the air quality worsens, limit strenuous activity outside, close windows and doors, and use an air filter if available. And keep a well-fitting N95 ready if you have to go outside. I spoke to an official from Spokane's Regional Clean Air Agency who let me know they expect to see our air quality continue to improve over the weekend, leaving us a clean, clear weekend. In Spokane, Emily Fox-Millian, KREM 2 News.
As we go to break, here's a check of your weekend forecast. Welcome back to the KREM 2 News Weekend Review. It's been a busy week across the Inland Northwest, and we want to help catch you up on some stories you might have missed.
When most people get a notification on their phone, they might not think twice about it or even ignore it. But for one Kootenai County couple, that notification turned into a call to action that gave their neighbor a second chance at life. A routine day off for Kootenai County first responder Daniel Clausen.
My phone went off and said, "You've got an alert, someone in the vicinity needs CPR."
Turned into him and his wife Jessica racing to help their neighbor who was reportedly going into cardiac arrest.
We were trying to find where the emergency was, and then it took the wife a moment to come down and open the door.
Once inside, the Clausens worked in tandem to help the patient and his family until first responders got on scene, providing much needed time when seconds are truly the difference between life and death.
That buys that brain those extra seconds and minutes before the rest of the chain of survival can come in, the professional response.
The total response took around 5 minutes before the patient regained a pulse and was transported to a local hospital.
Positive outcomes in CPR aren't super common. So to be able to be a part of a positive outcome it's special.
According to the American Heart Association, over 350,000 cardiac arrests happen outside of the hospital every year, with survivability decreasing by 10% every minute without intervention, meaning immediate bystander CPR can double or even triple the chance for survival for those affected. Something Clausen echoes, especially in this most recent incident.
What were you doing? Like, what were you doing before you got that notification on your phone?
Yeah, so strangely enough, I was actually packing up my gear for a CPR course that I was planning on teaching the next day.
Practicing exactly what he preaches to those who take a CPR class through a company he started 3 years ago, Wilderness Rescue Medicine.
But the whole point is get practice, get training so that you are more comfortable when that need arises. Because again, seconds count in this case.
Following the incident, the Pulse Point Foundation recognized the Clausens for their quick response. A story about neighbors helping neighbors ends with a second chance at life.
I'm a part of a community, and I was able to positively impact my immediate community. Just means a little extra. It hits a little bit closer to home.
Christian Garza, KREM 2 News.
Out of an abundance of caution, the Washington Department of Natural Resources is issuing a burn ban on all DNR managed lands across eastern Washington.
But make no mistake, we are definitely in fire season now. We will continue to see these hot, dry conditions develop on the landscape.
The ban takes effect this Friday. Ryan Roderick with the DNR says this means no burn piles, campfires, or the use of charcoal briquettes.
We are in an El Nino period, which will exacerbate those hot, dry conditions.
So far this season, DNR crews responded to major fires across eastern Washington, including the Upriver, B&O, Chelan Hills, and Ryegrass Coulee fires.
To date, we have seen several large, costly fires.
Those fires have destroyed more than 38 homes and left many properties damaged. DNR's dashboard reports the B&O fire is still burning, but at 95% containment, with just under 3,000 acres impacted.
90% of the fires that we see develop on the landscape in Washington state have a human cause. So really the most important thing folks can do is exercise caution.
The United States Drought Monitor reports parts of Spokane County are in moderate drought, while parts of Whitman Ferry and Okanagan counties are in moderate, severe, and extreme drought.
Have go bags at the ready and know what your actions are going to be should you be under the threat of wildfire or, unfortunately, an evacuation.
Again, the DNR burn ban on all DNR-managed lands east of the Cascades takes effect this Friday. I am told there is no timeline on when that burn ban may be lifted. Officials say when conditions improve, that's when they can safely lift it. For now, I'm reporting in Spokane, Regan Gallo, KREM 2 News.
Thanks for joining KREM 2 News this weekend. I'm Cody Proctor. Right now, we're taking a look back at some of the news stories from the past week.
Spring forward, fall back, it's a routine Americans have been following for decades.
Now the U.S. House voted to keep the country on daylight saving time year-round, if the bill ultimately becomes law.
It wreaks havoc on me as a mom with a lot of little kids. By the time we get used to it, it feels like we have to change again.
Lazarenko has 4 children and says every time the clocks change, so does her family's routine.
It disturbs everything. Like the kids don't want to go to bed on time or get up on time. You just feel tired and more sickly when that happens. Like the whole family does.
Supporters like Marina say making daylight saving time permanent would end those twice-a-year disruptions and give people more evening daylight. The bill now heads to the U.S. Senate.
It's so hard to get up in the morning with the kiddos for school schedules, and then in the evening they don't want to go to bed. So that's the most difficult thing about it.
Washington Senator Patty Murray posted a video celebrating the House's passage of the bill.
Now the House has passed it, and the White House has said they will support this bill. We have never been closer to getting this done.
Not everyone we spoke with felt strongly about the change.
But overall, I just don't feel like it affects me personally so much as it is a convenience or inconvenience, just an annoyance, right? I don't feel like it's not going to change my life drastically.
Washington is one of 19 states that has already passed legislation supporting permanent daylight saving time if Congress changes federal law. Idaho has passed similar legislation for the part of the state in the Pacific time zone. Under current federal law, states can observe standard time year-round, but they cannot adopt permanent daylight saving time on their own.
If the Senate passes the bill and the president signs it into law, Americans would no longer need to spring forward in March and fall back in November. In Spokane, Emily Fox-Millian, KREM 2 News.
County leaders say the West Plains continues to grow, but the region is still relying on the same underground water supply. They say the proposed aquifer protection area would help track the health of that water as more homes, businesses, and industry move into the area.
Measure 1 on the ballot is the West Plains Aquifer Protection Area. If approved, it would create a new fee to help fund groundwater monitoring, research, and public education in parts of western Spokane County, including Cheney, Medical Lake, and Airway Heights.
West Plains water issues have been recognized for a long time.
Ben Bradabo is the Water Programs Administrator for Spokane County. He says the funding would help county leaders better understand long-standing concerns about both water quality and water supply.
There's concerns over is water level declining, is water quality getting worse. There's a lot of discussion about PFAS contamination related to those aquifers out there.
Under the proposal, water users would pay $1.25 monthly fee for water withdrawals. Properties with septic systems would pay an additional $1.25 per month. That totals about $15 a year for a home connected to public sewer, or about $30 a year for a home using a septic system. County officials estimate the fees would generate about $400,000 each year. Most of that money would go toward groundwater monitoring, research, and public education. The remaining funding could support regional water projects or be distributed to participating cities and Spokane County.
We've taught students and community members about the importance of the groundwater that's right underneath their feet, and their actions on the surface can impact what happens to their drinking water supply.
The measure has drawn some opposition. In the official voters pamphlet, attorney Bob Montgomery argues the proposal creates a new fee without actually cleaning contaminated water or establishing a plan to do so. Bradabo agrees the measure does not fund water cleanup projects. Instead, he says it would provide the information needed to identify problems, track water conditions, and potentially help support future cleanup efforts.
It would be a different mechanism to fund large-scale projects, and then the monitoring would continue to see if that work is successful and leads to improved water resources.
Voters have until August 4th to vote and turn in their ballot for the primary election. County officials are encouraging voters to return their ballots as early as possible. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News. You're watching the Week in Review, where we bring you some of the biggest news stories of the past week.
Yeah, Daybreak had a behavioral health and treatment facility on South Cowley Street here in Spokane, as well as a location in Brush Prairie. Those locations closed in 2023 after the Department of Health suspended their licenses following investigations of misconduct and failure to comply with state safety regulations. Now, Daybreak filed this suit arguing against that decision and trying to clear its name.
Daybreak Youth Services is seeking damages after filing a sweeping federal lawsuit against the Washington Departments of Health, Commerce, and Healthcare Authority, along with several current and former state employees. The nonprofit claims state officials retaliated against the organization for refusing to violate federal patient privacy laws during investigations into the agency. This stems from an investigation in 2022 that accused one of its former counselors of having an inappropriate sexual relationship with a minor female patient, arguing Daybreak should be held responsible for the alleged accusations. The case was dismissed by a Spokane County Superior Court judge in 2025. According to the lawsuit, Daybreak says investigators repeatedly demanded confidential patient information protected under federal law. The complaint alleges that after the organization objected, state officials launched a years-long campaign of retaliation that culminated in emergency actions shutting down its facilities in 2023. The lawsuit accuses defendants of violating Daybreak's constitutional rights, including due process and equal protection. Daybreak also alleges investigators relied on unreliable witness statements and fabricated evidence to obtain emergency orders suspending its licenses. The organization says those emergency orders were served just before Memorial Day weekend in 2023, making compliance impossible and ultimately forcing the nonprofit to close its inpatient and outpatient facilities. The complaint argues the closures left hundreds of employees without jobs and eliminated treatment options for Medicaid-dependent youth across Washington. The lawsuit seeks compensatory and punitive damages and asks a federal jury to hold the state agencies and individual defendants responsible.
Now, the complaint spans more than 70 pages and names more than a dozen current and former state officials as defendants. The case was filed Friday in U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Washington. Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Keep it here for more news and weather updates throughout the weekend. And don't forget, you can watch our latest newscasts anytime on the KREM 2 app. Just scan the QR code on your screen to watch for free. I'm Cody Proctor. Thanks for watching the KREM 2 News Week in Review.